Now that I think about it, the Aiden did mention once that he will eventually fight Tyrath, and it will end every city on, what's it called? It will end every city on the surface. So maybe after that fight, they will get involved. But whose side will the Golden Fox take is the real question. And what is the spell that Aiden keeps placing all over the place? And if he says like you can't touch that, like if some animal could touch that, what happens when that happens? But he probably has some defense against it. We'll see. The verse tells us Meredith knows a lot about the primary plans, although I am yet to find out exactly intends to deal with Aiden. Kate says, I'm afraid not. Diane says, I don't think that any of the people who know the details of the plan are allowed to leave the underground caverns, because there would always be a risk that Aiden could capture and interrogate them. I have a feeling that not even Jason knows that what is going on behind the scene. Who's Jason? And Meredith usually tells him a lot more than she tells me. I'm guessing Jason is the Hexall faction leader. I'm sorry, who is Jason? Hardwick says. Oh, he's Diane's brother. Okay, no, never mind. Which reminds me, where is Jason? I would have liked to at least greet him before leaving. Jason is busy with an important mission somewhere on the surface, Diane says. So unfortunate you won't get the chance to meet him today. But we might still run into him on our way to the Sacred Forest. I will have to call and ask him later if he's allowed to disclose his location to us or not. Did I hear you right? Kate says, shocked. Did you just say that you are going to come with us look for the pine cone? Oh, that's right. We never got to tell you. Meredith was actually about to send me to Glamir before Melinda called her. So I talked her into letting me join your group, since we are all going the same way. I hope you all don't mind. Not at all. A friend of Kate is a friend of ours. Only we promise not to shock us with your electric powers again. I'm sorry, but it kind of sounds to me like Meredith is sending you to spy on us. Which is very much true. Is that probably the spectral thing she gave us is probably also very similar to that. I don't want to say this, but I will say it. I'm sorry, but it kind of sounds like Meredith is sending you to spy on us. Seriously, Barrett, Darren says. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but still, don't you think that is a better way to phrase your... No, he's right, Diane says. I might be Kate's childhood friend, but that doesn't mean that I've given you any reason to trust me yet. However, I hope that will change once we have traveled together for a few days, and you've gotten to know me better. It seems that Meredith is about to finish a conversation with the Magium. The overseer says, I will leave now, as I do not wish to commence an argument with her again. Just to be sure to remember what I said. Meredith is not your friend. If you make the mistake of thinking otherwise, you will surely come to regret it. Farewell. And he's gone. Hardwick says, as the bright light fades from the crystal the overseer was using to talk. So how much are you guys willing to bet that this wasn't the last we've seen of the overseer? I'm not taking that bet, Darren says. The guy pretty much admitted that he has a system in place to let him know whenever we are underground. As long as we are anywhere near a blue crystal, I think it's safe to assume that the overseer is spying on us unless proven otherwise. As Hardwick and Darren are just finishing the conversation, the secret door to the Magium node opens up, making way to Meredith to pass through. I'm sorry that it took so much time, Meredith tells her, as she closes the wall behind her. The creator had some important matters to discuss with me that could not be delayed any further. Anyway, I think I've held you all long enough. It's time for me to give you your pinecone detector so you can be on your way. Finally, Araka says in a loud voice. I was starting to get really tired of this place. Did Diane have time to give you the good news? Meredith asks us, ignoring Araka. Even that she'll be coming with us to the Sacred Woods and to Glamir? Kate says, yeah, she told us. Splendid, Meredith says. Normally I wouldn't have agreed, since her detour with you may delay her for a few days, but from what I've heard, the other diplomatic envoys will also be late, so there's not much point for Diane, of all people, to arrive there the earliest. As towards the teleporter, I've hidden the pinecone detector inside a wall somewhere on the way. Sorry if I'm being indiscreet, but diplomatic envoy for what? Teleporter Darren says as we are heading towards the teleporter together with Meredith. What is Diane going there to do? Oh, you haven't heard? Meredith says, surprised. The dragon Tyrath has declared war on every living being on the continent that isn't a monster. At first, he was going to send his armies directly towards the city of Orathia, but the orc captain of the elite troops has apparently managed to convince him to at least hold some negotiations before the war. Knowing Tyrath, his terms will probably be something along the lines of us dropping all our defenses so his forces can butcher us, but at least we'll have some more time to prepare before the inevitable conflict. So Diane is the envoy on behalf of Lessethi. I'm assuming the orc captain will be Tyrath's envoy. Darren says, while stroking his chin, do you have any idea who will be other delegates? The Golden Fox will most likely be sending Leo the Leopard. Meredith says, as she opens a secret tunnel with a wand, I heard the dragons from the Mount Hill will be sending the dragons from the mountains? I thought all the dragons were under Tyrath. I heard that the dragons from the mountains will be sending their own separate envoy, since they have never really accepted Tyrath's claim to their rightful king. One, I think Phyron the Goblin General will be sending. Yeah, he was the Goblin General. Will be attending the meeting himself. If I'm not mistaken, other than that, I believe the King of Glamir will be the one attending the conference, and that the other king should normally be attending the meeting through holographic screens. Looks like there will be a lot of familiar faces in this meeting. Darren says, we have all met Leo the Leopard, and I don't think we should be talking about Tyrath right now. Just in case. She's like, why the hell do you know about Tyrath? You fought Tyrath, but you said you unlocked the emergency features at another time. Looks like there will be a lot of familiar faces at this meeting, Darren says. We've all met Leo the Leopard and the orc captain. I'm pretty sure Barry said that he and Eluna met Phyron, so the only ones we won't know, there will be the kings of Orathia and the representative of the dragons. Maybe we'll have a chance to meet some of them in Glamir. It's possible, Meredith says, although I don't see a reason why you would be willing to contact them. I highly doubt that you are on friendly terms with any of them. Phyron is our friend, kind of, I say. Right, Eluna? Not my most people's definition of the word friend, but sure, you can call him that. It makes you feel better, Eluna says. But at the very least, we know that he won't turn into an enemy, I say. Not unless it benefits him. No, Eluna says. Tells me. Right, I say. So, Darren says in a thoughtful voice, this Glamir is both the place where all the tournament participants are meant to gather after completing their first objective, and the place where they will be holding the negotiation concerning a war that involves the whole continent somehow. I doubt that this is a coincidence. Is Glamir the capital of Orathia by any chance? No, it's not the capital, but you are correct to assume that it's not just some regular kingdom. Out of all the monarchs of Orathia, the king of Glamir is by far the one with the most influence over the other rulers from this continent, whether it's by blackmail or by subtle manipulation or simply through diplomacy. This particular king has managed to bring many of the other kingdoms under his control, despite them being officially independent. On that note, you should be very careful how you behave while you're in Glamir. You were lucky that the last noble you killed happened to be from a kingdom that nobody cared, but if you were to bring harm to any of the nobles in Glamir, you would almost certainly be kicked out of the tournament, teleported away from this continent in the very next minute. I don't think any of us would want that. I see, Dan says, thanks for the warning. I'm not sure if I should even bother asking at this point, Meredith says, but it is safe to assume that Aiden was the one who gave you the ability to harm the locals of Orathia. Yes, I answer. He did right after we met the Earl of Olander in Thelius. Of course he did, Meredith says in a gossip tone, as she now opens another hidden tunnel for the aid of her wand. Speaking of Aiden, I say, while we were entering the corridor, you never did tell us what his message for you meant. We have been trying to figure it out by ourselves for some time, but we didn't really reach a definitive conclusion. Really? Meredith says, I thought it would have been fairly obvious for anyone who heard it. As she was talking, Meredith opened a secret compartment that was hidden on the wall on the left, revealing a thin metallic tablet inside of it. It's a declaration of war, she says in a casual manner as she takes the item from within the war. Meredith then uses her wand to close back the compartment and then hands the tablet to Kate. By the way, this is true. It is kind of fairly obvious now that I think about it. He literally said, remember the Stillwinter, because the Stillwinter was where the, Lessethi kingdom fell. So it's kind of obvious what he's saying by that. I don't know why it's such a, interesting point they keep bringing up. Here is your pinecone detector as promised, Meredith says. If you have any questions about how to operate it, you can ask Diane, but I'd say it's rather intuitive, but I don't think you should be encountering any problems. Thank you, Kate says as she puts the tablet in her backpack. Now I've fulfilled my end of the bargain. I believe it is finally time for us to part ways, Meredith says. I would have liked to speak to you more, but unfortunately have some urgent matters to attend, which may or may not involve the Overseer. In that case, we are grateful for your hospitality and for everything that you've shown us, Darwin says. You have certainly given us a lot to think about. I hope you will be thinking about the deal that I've offered you as well, Meredith says. It would be a shame if all this time I've spent trying to convince you was completely wasted. Of course, Darren says. As we have agreed, you will have your answer when the time comes.